Parece que está todo a postos. Antes, pode estar. Então, posso pôr aqui. Alô? Sim? Alô? Sim, 2.
A educação é a arma mais poderosa para mudar o mundo, afirmou Nelson Mandela numa frase emblemática que sumariza a importância da formação proferida por esta figura icónica enquanto discursava por ocasião da inauguração de uma iniciativa pedagógica em 2003, na África do Sul. Em Angola, em 2010, foi fundado o Centro de Formação Marítima, Cfma, para dar resposta às necessidades de capacitação marítima do Grupo Sonangol. Hoje, como resultado do programa de reestruturação da companhia, o Cfma foi reajustado e atua ao longo de toda a cadeia de valor do setor petrolífero, marítimo e áreas complementares, contribuindo para o desenvolvimento nacional através da formação de excelência ministrada a nível local, com padrões de referência internacional sobre o propósito maior de formar para transformar. Muito bom dia a todos que se encontram presencialmente, igualmente aos que se juntam a nós virtualmente. É com muita satisfação que vos damos as boas-vindas a esta sessão de apresentação do Centro de Formação Marítima, cunhada com a sua missão de formar para transformar.
Good morning, Honorable Ambassador of the Kingdom of Norway, Excellency, the Secretary of State for Petroleum Gas, to the CEO of Sonangol, distinguished board members of the National Agency for Petroleum and Gas and Sonangol, distinguished director generals of the different companies, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished invited guests, allow me to take this opportunity to thank Sonangol for the invitation extended to me, since this is a privileged space to discuss about issues around the training for the extractive industry, whose motto is upskilling to transform. The exploitation and oil production requires huge investments in technology, infrastructure, and human capacity building, so as to make this industry more efficient and capable of resolving all the challenges imposed by this activity. The government has been working so as to improve our economy since the pandemic crisis provoked by COVID-19 has affected or impacted all sectors, particularly the oil and gas, resulting in the fall of commodities, as well as on the difficulties in financial resources mobilization. The recent reforms in the sector and the implementation of new governance model aim at increasing and promoting the oil activity in Angola. And one must emphasize the approval of the Presidential Decree 271/20 of 20th of October on the new legal regime on the local content, and an important tool that aims at, among other objectives, to prioritize training and human capital capable of gradually reducing expatriate labor or skilled labor. The results and the impacts of such reforms must be felt in short and long term along the supply chain, value chain of the oil sector in Angola, particularly from the national companies, by promoting job creation and generation of wealth for Angolan families. Ladies and gentlemen, we are aware that the development of this sector will not only go through the stimulus to the investments and equipments and state-of-the-art technology, but it also goes through the preparation of local personnel who will be duly trained and certified to operate with tools and complex tools to support operations. And for that to happen, the Ministry of Mineral Resources, Petroleum and Gas is supporting and promotes such initiatives we are witnessing today. The relaunching the Maritime Training Center, which was inactive. Finally, to the distinguished representatives of the operating companies in this sector, to the partners and invited guests to this event of the Cfma brand, my appeal is to see this institution as a partner in the training of your personnel and to contribute with your experiences and knowledge in order to prepare Cfma for other challenges by making it a true center of excellence. We'd also like to challenge to the key stakeholders in this industry, considering the adverse and uncertainty context so as to work together hand in hand so as to continue creating infrastructure and technical conditions so that technical and professional training are delivered in Angola so as to guarantee quality, excellency, and secure certified. I declare this open session, and I wish you an active participation on the topics submitted or proposed for this event. Thank you.
Muito obrigada.
Thank you, Minister Engineer Demantino de Azevedo. Continue, we'll listen to the presentation of Maritime Training Center of the Republic of Angola. That's a unit of business of Angola Oil Company Sonangol. So I'll call the CEO of Sonangol to make a speech. Engineer Sebastião Gaspar Martins.
Yeah.
Excellencies, Minister of Natural and Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas, Excellency Secretary of State of Oil, Excellency Ambassador of Norway accredited in Angola, distinguished members of the Board of National Oil Agency, distinguished General Directors of operating companies in the oil sector in Angola, distinguished members of the Board of Sonangol, distinguished invited guests who are following this event via live stream, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all to this presentation event of the Maritime Training Center with the topic Upskilling to Transform. The oil and gas exploration activity in Angola has its own complex activities. There are technologies and competent human resources with technical and technological knowledge. And it is in this context that CFMA, whose mission is to contribute for the development of the oil sector at national level through training of excellent professionals aligned with the implementation of the new Sonangol macro structure, has diversified its formative offering according to the investment made and the capacity of the existing infrastructure. Through various cooperation protocols signed with entities at international market, CFMA, working together with the National Institute of Work and Professional Training in a FOP, they aim at contributing actively for the updating of the curriculum plan in the oil sector, maritime transportation, as well as complementary sectors, as well as helping in the process of homologation of certificates. Starting from this basis, as part of its strategies, the public divulging of CFME MA label to its partners and clients, our board through this event will show to the market solution of capacity building and initiatives aimed at strengthening the education system in Angola with emphasis to promotion of online training by using e-learning, as well as guaranteeing a better training of to the market in general, as well as guaranteeing the accreditation and certification of human resources, as well as the implementation and the development of education projects according to the service and technical professional training with the best quality as possible. With the aim of upskilling to transform, we wish you all a good working session. Thank you very much for your attention.
Muito obrigada.
Thank you, CEO of Sonangol, Engineer Sebastião Gaspar Martins. Since we are here for upskilling to transform, now let's put the transformation in action by calling forward Mr. Domingos Francisco, who is the National Director of Training and Local Content from the Ministry of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas.
Este é o...
Não. Este não é o pointer, esse é o rádio. O pointer está ali.
Excelências,
Excellency, distinguished administrator from Sonangol Oil Company and Oil and Gas National Agency, Excellency Ambassador of Norway, distinguished directors of the operating companies, I'd like to apologize for those who were not present. Distinguished Director of Cfma, distinguished invited guest. I was invited to speak about the need for training in the oil and gas industry, policies for the valuing of the Angolan workforce. I would like to thank the opportunity to share with this excellent audience the general vision of the importance and opportunity in Angolan training of Angolan labor force in the oil and gas sector in 2021 and for the future. For those who do not know, the National Training Department of Local Content is the entity at the ministry with the task to train national staff at the sector and they work according to the diploma of the League of Framework of the Republic of Angola. On one side, Decree 1709 of 26 June, which aims at providing a higher equity of opportunity between Angolan technicians of the oil sector and the expat, what we call the Angolanization project. And on the other hand, the current presidential decree 271/20 of October 20, as it was stated at the opening speech of His Excellency Minister, which
Petroleum and Gas, and also the intervention of the CEO of Sonangol. If I was to conduct an analogy, figures, we cannot build a future without referring to the historical past of CFMA. The training business of Sonangol Group began in 1992 on a training perspective on the safety component with a cooperation with Global Marine, and this activity was undertaken until 2013, and it then transformed into Academy. Sonangol as a company, and it then joined the safety business and started to manage the training centers, or the ones in Kwakwako, because most companies acting in this sector, they know the center is a center of excellence for safety training. And then as from 2013 to 2020, it was the second milestone of the training of the sector with the different dynamics of the oil sector in both the company dynamics of the Sonangol Group, and the board of directors decided to restructure this business, and it then transformed into the two training centers were then handed over to CFMA, the one in Kakwako and the other from Kikongo. So it was then prepared for an activity of excellency, given the technological capacity installed at these two centers. One must refer that our mission and vision, our mission goes through contributing for the development of the oil sector by training with professionals of excellency through the whole value chain and its complementary sectors. If I was to ask my colleague, Engineer Marildo, how did you do this to produce these two strategic instruments, the declaration of the vision and the definition of the mission? Will take some time, but perhaps I'll just hand over the floor to Engineer Marildo, because we've had very heated debates on these issues for both the board of the previous academy. They've also actively contributed for the definition of this mission and vision until we have reached to a point where we felt comfortable in accomplishing or implementing this mission. Thank you, Dr. Wick. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge His Excellency the Secretary of State for Petroleum and Gas, to the CEO of Sonangol, distinguished invited guests, board members of Sonangol, and those who also accompany us online. Thank you. As it was mentioned in this morning, just say we wouldn't be able to dynamize the sector without the professional training. So the Director General has just made an important reference, because it was very difficult to reach this mission maritime sector. But considering the existing investment on that infrastructure, we articulated the best way to take advantage on the investment made, and it was based on this we mapped and we did interact with the operators, and we were able to tell them that CFMA had the potential. It was able to meet the demands and needs of the oil and gas sector, maritime transportation, and other complementary sectors. So it was basically an articulation of the different interventions based on the experience on one hand, and since our company has the mission to operate, I would now hand over the floor back to the Director General so as to define how we were to do the upstream. Given his vast experience, I would kindly ask the Director General to comment on this. Thank you. Thank you, Marildo. Based on the exhaustive assessment of the oil sector and consultation with various international entities, we did conduct an assessment, and we've come to the conclusion that most of these institutions were specialized on a single specific component. Now, given the specificity of the Angolan oil industry, we were able to identify these on the assessment. We were able to define, we decided that it would be useful, not just for a business perspective, but also to provide a solution. We did define 4 training components to sustain the vision of CFMA. I believe that there seems to be a technical issue. Okay. Once this mission and vision was established with the board of directors, the board of directors called us, convened us, and we provided them with a mission so as to fulfill 2 specific objectives. The first specific objective that was to operationalize the CFMA, or the 2 existing infrastructures were to be operationalized, and it goes through transferring the safety school activities to CFMA Sumbe, and also by requalifying the Kakwako Training Center so as to provide better conditions. And secondly, it goes through dynamizing the CFMA through various actions, rapid and immediate actions to make it functional and provide training services. Engineer Amarillo perhaps could also comment on how we're doing this. But before I hand over the floor to you, I'd like to mention a quote that has motivated us a lot so as to fulfill these 2 major objectives. When we implemented the macrostructure of Sonangol Group, His Excellency the CEO, when he was being sworn in, he had mentioned, and I quote, to the managers of Sonangol Group, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you have to change your will while driving as if you were in a Formula One race. And we listened that, we accepted the challenge, but we went back home very worried. And I must confess that we were very worried. Now, with interaction with my colleagues, or with my other colleagues, we started giving a serious thought on that. And I asked Engineer Marildo, how are we supposed to change tires while driving if our engine is not even working? And then we started talking, we started putting in place some strategies so as to resolve this issue. And we had a major issue, COVID-19. Kakwako Training Center closed, shut down as a result of the decree, that soon we were given a business unit to manage, and as a result of the COVID-19 and the decree, we couldn't perform. So a number of initiatives were designed so as to dynamize and operationalize both infrastructure. Engineer Mariodu could also say a few things on how to make these two infrastructures operational. Thank you, Dr. Wilkie. Let me just say that, as it was mentioned by Dr. Wilkie, the exercise was to make sure that these car is to operationalize them and dynamize at once. So we needed to do a mapping, verify these infrastructures, and conduct an assessment on the Kakwako Training Center, which we have for some time. And given the years of existence, they started degrading. And with these two assumptions, we started to operationalize the Sumbe Training Center, because these were recent infrastructures, and then we started to conduct an assessment on our Kakwako asset, as was Antigesa. So we started to operationalize the Sumbe Training Center, and at the same time we started dynamizing by establishing cooperation protocols with reference entities nationally and internationally. Based on this, we were able to provide safety training. Thank you, Amarildo. Now, to sustain this mission and vision, we defined 5 strategic pillars. One pillar goes through the autonomy and operational sustainability of Sonangol Group, since this business is not part of the non-core business, which was defined by the restructuring program. A second pillar that goes through the diversification of our portfolio, acting in a comprehensive manner of the whole oil, maritime, and complementary value chain, considering the various opportunities we have found and also some gaps in the market. A third pillar goes through the strengthening the existing infrastructures that I've just mentioned, which we are making them operational so as to meet the demands of the industry. The fourth pillar goes through human capacity building of CFMA, and His Excellency the Minister, in his opening speech, he had mentioned that it's not the machine, human capital, and these human capital must be properly trained so as to perform its activities with excellence. And finally, the fifth pillar goes through promoting the CFMA brand in the national market in terms of training needs. And this event, Upskilling to Transform, is an important milestone to sustain these strategic pillars. Other actions have been put in place, but today's event is an historic milestone for CFMA. Some indicators: CFMA we have conducted 432 training remain the same, grow initiatives of So we also couldn't leave leadership management components outside these because it helps the industry, and we have mapped the soft skills and management center. On this component, we would like to develop curriculum values concepts that will support the industry at various levels with respect to specific courses. And these are the fire extinguishing or firefighting course, the personal techniques and social responsibility course, the first aid course, the course which we call personal technical safety fitness. So these are the most looked for courses. We could just also mention that under the maritime training, we have a very relevant entity, the International Maritime Entity, but it's not just should not just be focusing on maritime. With this training, we want to reach out to offshore to relate to the key activities of the whole universal term. We found the also process of purchasing and of people. So there is interaction with the international entity of starting already, and we will have to provide the information that so we will see this. I want to emphasize the role in the center, and we have to speak publicly and place as sort of geography and maintenance management. Maintenance management is extremely important not only for the whole industry, reason why we also work with the computer sectors because it's important to maintain the
changing or without any change and based on us on the world so that we can improve our industry. Thank you very much for your attention.
Obrigado, Amarildo.
Thank you, Amarildo. Dr. Wick, I believe that you speak about the tendencies since it's connected to the get certification to certificate complex flags as part of convention and also to upgrade ISO certification. That's ISO 9000 that as a CFMA have. At the first stage, we're going to get certification in order to support professional training, and we've got the certification from Bahamas, from the Maritime Authority of Malta Island, take into account the effective needs of the sector at national level. And for OP2 accreditation, it's already underway the purchase process of equipment that are compulsory. UAT model that will answer what are the needs of OP2 certification. At the moment, we'll be interacting with entities based in Ireland in order to proceed the purchasing of new equipment and have some support for OP2 accreditation. In a summarized manner, these are what we are worried about without putting aside the ISO. We've been always using or working according to ISO standard in order to guarantee the operationality of our port centers, be it in Kakwaku and Kwanza. Thank you very much for your attention. Now, I will speak about will allow us to have online courses. So I will give the floor to the General Director, and after also start the presentation of what is the platform or what is CFMA platform. So in our work of defining diagnosis made, we have identified that the capacity building sector now is using new method of training, and they are all mapped here. So e-learning is the most used and most known here. We've got the planning, artificial identification, and micro learning. So the first stage with our colleagues who will be joining us in the next panel, they will present our e-learning platform, because we believe that we should not be behind in this process of digitalization or industrial digitalization. So I would like to ask my colleagues with the master ceremony to call them, but in a summarized manner, this is our strategy, and it's a broad strategy, specific strategy, and we count with the participation of the companies in order to do capacity building with us. Thank you very much.
Obrigada.
Thank you, General Director of CFMA, Vic Tabita, and Deputy General Director Amarildo Daniel, for making this presentation of the strategic plan of CFMA and their training courses and the pedagogic part of various companies of the world. As I was saying, some additional information that was presented by both speakers. So we are going to move to another.
your trainers. So if so that knowledge will remain in the company. What we want is to make sure that the trainers are capable of training at the 20, 30 trainee. And will be focusing on leadership between the managers and managerial and the directors position. More than two-thirds are occupied by expats. So there's a huge gap in terms of leadership. Nowadays, the ratio between expatriates and Angolans, 30 to 70, is more than achieved. Well, I believe that we are more higher than expectation. So major problem is that within that 70-30 ratio, not be occupied by Angolans. So there's a need to train more leaders in this sector so that they won't be only engineers or other sectors that are not less important, but we need to have more Angolan. I'm the first director. This is a visible example, and that is the reason why we have invited you to be here, hoping that this can be replicated throughout the value chain of professionals in the market. I will quickly give the on the interest of the good professionals and feasibility. Today, as we were speaking, I was able to to establish the relationship between the linkage and the corporation. As a representative of a company that is related to manpower, I sent it to INEFOP or to Cfma because I believe that our institutions, they do not talk to one another. And there's a number of opportunities that are well-equipped units, just like CFMA. So we need to value whatever has been invested because this is a collective responsibility, we as Angolans, and we need to make sure that all that potential that was invested will then be returned in terms of a capacity building of our technicians. So our director, which I've also discussed with him many times, will help us understand what are the guidelines and the policy in as far as training needs are concerned. Good morning, everyone. As when we started to speak about the organization of this event, the first day we were given 15 minutes. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, we were reduced to 7. Now I have 5 minutes. Sorry, I prepare myself for 5 minutes. This is just to say this: that in reality, the idea we have, the responsibility we have, is to manage the system on one hand, and on the other, we also have the big component of promoting job creation. So we work on these two pillars. Under the training, our responsibility is to make sure that the whole learning process will result in skills development, and that we are able to leverage our training and employment. That is why every training contents tend to adopt contents, technical skills, and we have also included the behavioral component. So to some extent, we can have an excellent engineer, we could have technicians, but we would hardly have a good man if we are not to match this in essential component, which is essential component for the development. In terms of our system, we are under the umbrella of the Ministry of Labor. In our structure, we have 18 provincial servers spread out in spread in the 18 provinces of the country. We have more than 156 training vocational centers. In the training structure, we have a pyramid, and most of our centers offer most basic courses for those people who are unable to join the labor market. So we under our responsibilities, we on the social responsibility. In terms of level number 2, we have some other schools where we have some young people, vulnerable young people, or street children who also provided or offered some courses. In terms of 2 and 3, we have specialized center, level number 4. We have the Symphotex, level 3. We have specialized center. In terms of our system, we have more than 150 training specialty, 150 courses, and out of these courses, in as far as on oil and gas industry, we have some that deal with these industry, such as electromechanical, welding, among others. If you were to follow me, I would have been in the end. With respect to what we have done last year, our training capacity is close to 48,000. The centers and other entities, we started to train close to 68,000. Last year we did provide training to 30,000 due to the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. Out of this 31,000 in the national system, we provided more than 25,000. Now, with respect to the challenges, relevant challenges to what has been discussed here, that is to understand that for many years, even those training that could have been delivered here, we did provide this training were provided outside the country, and then there was the problem, expatriate, and unfortunately there was no continuity. Obviously, this tendency, we have been attempting to change these tendencies since the implementation of Symphotex, with the emergence of Cfma and other centers that will intervene on this area. One must say that in terms of challenges, we have identified 6 axes in which this process will go through, and these are of great importance. That is to focus on people. We also use technologies that have result to strengthen these people and help them achieve the best results. In terms of partnerships we have with CFMA, we have signed about 2 weeks ago a MOU with CFMA, where we have where we will try to align some things, and that is to ensure exchange of services in terms of the training of trainers. We understand that we need to standardize some training contents for the industry. There are many centers with courses that will assist the industry, but in terms of curriculum, these are very different, which in most cases have nothing to do with the real needs of the sector. So we realize that with the technicians we have in terms of curriculum, we could exchange some synergies. Our technicians may know everything, but they also know nothing about the sector. That's why the CFMA and a number of specialists will work with us so as to put in place curriculum plans. And on the other hand, we have the training of trainers, where we realize that our training process focuses on technical skills and teaching, learning, pedagogy. So all trainers will have to go through training, and we're going to work so as to train the trainers. And as it was mentioned here, on the results of these new variant or new just to say that
We have some digital equipment in our training centers, and we also have a set of equipment that can be used as maximum as possible. So we'll be able to do an exchange with the centers that we have at Infotech, so that CFMA and the workers and users can use this equipment. There's no need for us to purchase another equipment when we already have equipment that is not being used. So that's all I had to bring at this topic, and I hope that I managed to give an answer according to the time. You spoke about sharing. Besides training, if you have a small bench.
Still not yet?
Yeah, that's active now.
You see it now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I know I need to be brief, so I will do that. But what we want to concentrate on are what makes adult learning principles effective. Adults learn best from each other rather than from a trainer when they are actively engaged in the learning process, when they are dealing with real problems, the more real the better, when solutions to problems have practical and immediate application in their job. And what are the essentials of adult learning programs? Learning objectives integrated with competency development, pre-course learning, experienced in-house instructors and mentors, crisp and meaningful lecture content, action learning, serious simulation games, case studies, board games, and practical assignments, assessments and feedback. We have a concept called flipped learning. And flipped learning, in the traditional way, you would have a classroom lecture and homework. But the way we are organizing now, we give e-learning and pre-assignments, online mentoring, and then a facilitated workshop, and then on-the-job activities. We have found that this flipped learning approach is more effective. Some action learning options. What action learning? Using simulation games. IHRDC has built more than 30 different simulation games that we will employ, particularly with our protocol with CFMA. We were going to use effective case studies. Board games. This is a new concept that's very effective. On-site demonstrations and actual job assignments. I just want to one big program that we recently delivered, an example, is we had 8 consecutive weeks of virtual training, live online training, with more than 1,000 people at the same time from Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. It consisted of 2 different groups, 649 graduates of engineering, geology, physics, and chemistry, and another 401 graduates in the social sciences, business management, and law. We delivered this over 8 weeks simultaneously with this type of content. And certainly this presentation can be distributed through CFMA to anyone interested. I just want to talk a little bit about the value chain board game, which we would like to introduce also in Angola. And this is where we ask the participants to build a board value chain around their company. And what happens is they break into teams and they research all of the various aspects of the value chain and then make presentations about their learning. This is an example of an outstanding Nigerian industry value chain that was created by one of taught, and this was all done virtually over the internet, and just an outstanding example of how you can learn virtually. Another situation that we worked on that we hope to bring to Angola is our in-house hands-on training. This is an example of what we call pathways, where we take the instruction right through a series of steps to deliver competent employees in the field operations, vocational skills. This is just an example of how the pathways are integrated with competencies, and we teach the competencies in the hands-on training throughout the entire progress. And I promise to talk about the protocol. We signed a protocol with Cfma on July 20th. We intend to deliver vocational training, professional training, specialized training. And the essentials of the protocol is based on the following principles of cooperation: accreditation of local capabilities, training the trainers, co-construction of relevant training programs, and the execution of the project, courses, and provision of services. The scope of the learning is both live classroom and virtual. And we will bring to you petroleum leadership programs, gas programs, management programs, economics and risk programs, essential skills. These are the soft skills for oil and gas professionals, raw accounting, finance, data analytics, oil and gas professionals, and advanced petroleum management program, managing organizations in complex business environments. And we will also work with CFMA to bring any other classroom programs that we offer, and including we can create bespoke programs for the Angolan operating environment. That's it.
Thank you, and like you put here, obrigado. That's the way I will say. And that's exactly amazing to have you sharing with us. I noticed
Well,
that.
I hope I wasn't too fast, but we've been working long time with your folks there, and we're so excited about bringing a really wide, deep range of oil and gas training to make the transformation happen.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, and you have just demonstrated that through your presence in some African countries like Nigeria and Tunisia. Likewise, that probably will be the same for Angola. And with your
Yes,
commitment,
yes.
Definitely we will have a service of excellence. Thank you again, Rob. And I will just quickly, just for final consideration, maybe to Fabian, just to say a few words. And with that, probably we'll just resume back to our normal program. But let's see if I can have Fabian quickly. Can I have Fabian?
I'm not sure. I think he left, but we may get him back.
Well, if he left us a good message. And I will just thank you, everybody, for your presence, and we'll just continue our program.
Here he comes. Gary is back.
Well.
Yeah, I think perhaps there is some communication issue because we were told to left.
Yes,
But
Fabian,
anyway,
just a quick consideration for this final nod from your side, please.
Yeah, so on behalf of IT Education Services, I definitely think that there is room to improve. In actual fact, train the trainers pedagogy is a high demand in Africa based on a few of the studies that we have observed, and we hope to work with CMFA in this aspect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fabian and Rob from the other part of the world, and for my colleagues here, muito obrigado pela vossa. Thank you for your presence, for sharing the experience that you have. We will start communicating with a vision or with an aim of making sure that the capacities and skills of our professional continue according
to international studying standard, sorry, and so that, and we hope that we return to the normal activities. And I'd like to thank everyone here for your attention.
Obrigada, Valdemar, pela palavra.
Thank you, Valdemar, for your giving back the floor. So we've concluded the first panel. So I'd like to invite everyone here. We are going for a coffee break so that you can also look at the exhibition available. We've got a showroom with a practical demonstration of some of the service available of the Maritime Training Center of the Republic of Angola. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you very much and enjoy your coffee break.
Renovados os votos de bom dia a todos. Espero
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you had a good break. Let's resume our activity by going straight to the second panel. Before, let's invite the executive administrator of Sonangol, Dr. Onga Sabalu, to open this second panel.
Muitíssimo obrigada, doutora.
Thank you, Dr. Selma. Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished members of the board of Sonangol, distinguished members of ANPG, distinguished invited guests, representative of operating companies, to those accompanying via live stream, once again, good afternoon. After listening what is the role of CFMA and after presenting our tool, another element that allow us to know the center, it's time now for us to look at the training of the local content. As you all know, the training of the local content in the oil sector is not a new topic. It has been under regulation for quite some time now, and as it was mentioned before, the decree 1709 of 17 June that spoke about the rates for contribution and the rules of procedure for integration, recruiting of people at the sector. And we can also mention or speak about the strategy of the government with regard to local content that was done after Decree 201/20 of 20 October that states the legal framework of local content. So it's clear that with this diploma, the Angolan government recognized local content, the local content as one of the most interesting factors for national development and for generating revenues. So as an CFMA, we all aligned in this specific objective. So we're going to talk about the training of local content. In our point of view, as soon as we sign contract and program and development plan for human resources in the sector, there's a set of obligation about the local content that includes the presentation of the curriculum plans, the action to be taken in determined moments. And as Sonangol through CFMA, would like to be strategic partners of all the sectors in order to materialize such important strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, without going any further, I here open the second panel that will speak about the training needs in the oil sector, and they're going to present some of the challenges as well as speak about practical cases, good practice, and example of the sector. Thank you very much for your attention.
Obrigada, doutora Olga.
Thank you, Dr. Olga Sabalu, for this opening of the second panel of this event of the presentation of the Maritime Center. So to moderate the panel, I would like to call once again Valdemiro Basto to continue the activity. My name is he just stated that is Valdemiro de Souza, not Valdemiro Basto. So Valdemiro de Souza, representing Nova Variant, is also partner of this initiative. You have the floor. Thank you very much. Let's continue with our event. Let's hope that time management and soft skills will be useful during this event. So let's ask our invited guest. I'll start by calling Mr. Berlamino Shitangeleka, NPG Administrator, and Mr. Ricardo Van Dest, member of the Sonangol Production Executive Board. No, yeah, Executive Board and Chairman of Sonangol Exploration and Production Unit. And also the representative of PP Angola, Mr. Adriano Bastos, and Mr. Matteo Baccini, General Director of ENI, and Michael Johnson is the production manager of S Exploration Angola, and also live streaming with Mr. Olivier Johnny, Total General Director. So I believe that conditions is available for us to have Mr. Olivier.
Estamos a ouvir. I can hear you. Welcome.
Just trying to project my presentation by using Teams platform, so we're able to have a sign, to have a signal.
So, I guess we're going to start. Well, I was just thinking if you were just trying to adjust, but I can see that Olivier Johnny is ready for that. And let's just start with you because Olivier has some other commitments and we will just start with our next panel. So please, time is yours.
Vocês estão a ver a apresentação que está aqui no...
Can you see the presentation that I have from Teams or not? Because I've already shared with you.
The main topic. Kátia, temos alguma questão técnica?
Eu tenho apenas duas slides, mas...
I only have 2 slides. It's important for me to start the presentation, so I have information that I'm sharing, or you can see my presentation.
Start, please, Olivier.
Ok, bom, muito boa tarde.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be everyone here for this digital roundtable. I'm the General Director of Total Angola, and I'll start by speaking about the experience of Total as the first operator in Angola in topics such as training of national labor force. So I'd like to say that at Total Angola, capacity building is extremely fundamental for the Angolanisation project, and it is our main focus, and we work with our internal human resources as well as our policies of social responsibility. As I said before, it's a fundamental instrument for boosting competences of our workers and future workers. I'll start to speak about our internal focus at Total, and after I'll speak about our external focus as part of our responsibility program, or program of social responsibility. Now, starting with what we are doing inside Total, I would like to say that we dedicate a lot of energy in our training policy with 3 domain policies. Obviously, all the training or compulsory training in terms of hygiene, safety, and environment is about 10% of our training, and all the technical training represents about 50%. We've got training in geoscience, production, project, finance, all the training that is directly connected to the work site is something that for us is more important. And we have a percentage that is increasing year by year, and it is done through personal development, and we are dedicating our effort so that we can have an important role with regard to social development. So we are attentive to the real advancement of transformation in the market as well as the working areas. And we also understand that we need collaborators with skills that goes beyond the technical part. And it's important for us to dedicate a part of this training of staff and of personal development. And inside total, each of the collaborators, we have almost 1,500 collaborators. From this number, 1,100 are Angolans. And we also have that individual development plan that dedicated future so that that person can be able to acquire competence for tomorrow in our energy sector. And we are seeing that there's important change in the energy sector as new topics that we have. We are working in environmental area, and we're seeing a lot of pressure in the environmental sector and other areas. So we are preparing our staff in this specific area. As you can see, we are dedicating 10,000 days of the year in training. So 2018 was a special year where we started reorganizing our company. Last year it was the year affected by COVID, but to say that we dedicate 10,000 days of training. So we speak about 7 to 10 days of training for each individual or for each collaborator, with some priority areas for us. Our priority at the level of capacity building of the production operators, we have defined almost 2 years a special program in order for us to have a training program of operators so that we can create an environment where we can boost Angolans in the area of offshore production, as well as the mobilization of everyone that works at control room, so that they can have expertise in this area. We've got 30 people who are gaining this practical training because they're joining practical experience and theoretical lessons, and they are working at Block 17. And to say that we are allowed to use the resources that we have in order to increase this Angolization program, as well as boosting Angolization at the level of production activities. The second priority for us is to do with the working of personal development, and I believe that for us this is part of our mission. So all the managers have a training that focus on this. Depends from type of manager, be it junior manager to senior manager, but we do a special follow-up so that can allow them to have training to manage a team, and it also helps us in the final evaluation of each collaborator. Reason why we are supporting and helping the currently elected managers, and also working with the manager. We are working together with the junior manager as well as senior manager, whereby we've got specific training for the senior managers so that they can have all the elements, all the necessary competencies, so that we can manage a team that's more important for work with senior manager to work whereby with senior manager working with junior manager. We also have coaching program so that we can make a follow-up of our staff in order for us to give them all the skills and strength in order to manage their teams. And for the non-managers and all other collaborators, we are also trying to continue doing development training with regard to other topics such as conflict management, work on organization, time management, stress management. We are working with all these areas. As you know, COVID pandemic is having an impact in our daily lives, and to say that this program is something new in our policy of training, and we're seeing that it will place an important impact, and we are seeing that each collaborator needs to do the training besides the technical training that we had an important focus before, but now we're trying to have a better equilibrium. To finish this slide, before I move to the other slide, I would like to say that the pandemic had an important impact in our training last year. Here in the graph, we've seen that last year we did less hours of training compared to the previous years, but we're also seeing that there is an opportunity. We are trying to see the good or the positive aspect of the pandemic with accessibility and capacity building that should be given in a general terms. So we are proposing more training digitally to all the collaborators so that we can have a broader access for all the collaborators to have the possibility of benefiting from online training, and to say that we have to adapt that training as we did it last year, and we hope that by the end of 2021, even though without restructuring all the presential training, we'll be able to do more online training with an aim of allowing every staff to have access to various training, technical offering of social development. That was the first focus for Total, for our collaborators. And I would also like to talk about the next slide. So what we are doing out of Total, externally, as I said before, education and training is our main focus in our policy of social responsibility. It represents almost 50% of the budget in our program of social responsibilization. So we've got the network FL, where we are proud of this project that was launched 10 years ago. We are present in 4 provinces in Kwanza North, Bengu, Malanje, and Kunene, with almost 600 students. They are students who they don't have the privilege of having access to a normal education. So we're trying to help a group of students, so from 10th grade to A level, whereby we provide them scientific education and also lessons in English, French, and Portuguese, and to say that these students have been having excellent results. And this is an example of what we can do when you're willing to help the students that unfortunately did not have, or they were not lucky to have access to privileged education. So we also work with the Ministry of the Education of the Republic of Angola, and it's a partnership that we are happy to sign. So happy that normally we wanted to have 2 traditional high school and another high school in Moshoko province, where we are trying to see that these two new schools will open in the next 24 months.
Your statement sharing all the experience in terms of the education that Total is dedicating in Angola. And well, we will have to manage also the time, and we really appreciate for you just waiting for this forum to restart, and you have given the privilege to start. But yes, once again, we must thank you for that, and we'll just have some other panelists also taking the time to talk about all the initiatives that we have. But, mais uma vez, muito...
Once again, thank you, Olivier. So I'll now quickly give the floor to Mr. Bellarmino Chitanganyeka, who will speak about the need of training and the bidding of the new blocks. As you know, we have new blocks under bid, so we'll need training. So first of all, he will share with us this experience. Engineer Bellarmino, you have the floor.
Ora, muito boa tarde a todos, caros membros da...
The board of Sonangol, to the distinguished representatives of oil companies, distinguished participants. I'll talk about the bids, oil bids, so to establish the future of the industry, because that's where we start the attribution of the concessions, allocation of the concessions. Do we have the pointer? You can manage from there. So my presentation, please. Well, on page, you're on the right page. You don't have to go through the agenda. If you are to look at the graph on my left, on the left side, it gives you an overview of the production in Angola. At some point in time, we had reached 2 million barrels per day. In terms of production development of the industry, we are second place in the African, sub-Saharan Africa. We only lose to Nigeria. And the whole objective is to become the first. But there are many challenges in production. Production is declining. Our reserves on the graph in the right, it's a major concern. So you can see that as a concern. The government has been implementing some measures in order to handle the decline and the decline in reserves as well. As you know, that the graph coming after, in order to overcome the decline in production, we need to find new fields because the old ones are really old, they're mature. So the government has adopted an exploration strategy 2019-2025, and one of the pillars for this strategy is the attribution of oil concessions. We are currently operating ultra deep waters and we have the extension. We could go to interior basins. So by 2025, we would like to allocate. The term is attribute, is to allocate bids until 50 blocks or more than that by 2025. And the next slide, please. In case of we succeed on these bids, obviously, new fields through development projects will start producing if they're successful. So the existing infrastructure is completely obsolete for the mature field, so new construction will be required. We also have new new equipments, and this will create opportunities at a regional level. We operate with oil companies, world-renowned companies, the biggest you can find in the market, and they are also in the neighboring countries in the region. Why not establish synergies? Why not train our technicians here who can help us develop the industry at a regional level? Next slide, please. We are between 2021 and 2025, we would have made an investment around $14 billion per year. And in case we succeed, we'll need skilled labor. And as we know, the current situation is basically crew change. We need to basically to adopt the crew change. I wouldn't call them old, but some need to be replaced. So we need to provide training to the young people, and on this training we need to count on the institutions and universities who provide the fundamental training. But in order to transmit the experience for those who are leaving and those coming in, professional centers or vocational centers play a crucial role. And then we should take into consideration that by the time we start doing the bids, then we have another challenge in terms of replacement of competence, skill, in terms of producing adequate procedures, because our industry, as you know, is not static. It's an industry that requires an intensive capital in terms of training. Next, please. There are huge challenges. First, we need the energetic transition and digitalization. Operations in the future will not be the one like we conduct today. Will certainly reduce the number of people by robots or drones, etc. So we need to have this prerogative. We need to be able to train, considering the changes that have been introduced in the industry. And there's another industry which is new, the activation of existing production infrastructure. To remove the existing infrastructure is not the same as placing them on the development project. It's a new industry that also requires technology. So a lot of training has been given to handle this. In the energetic transition, it's not that we're going to count on the fossil fuel. Chemical industry will still consume refined products, natural gas. So there's a need to train in the refination and also in the petrochemical industry that we hope to see strengthened in Angola. Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Berlamino. We understand the importance of the local content and the focus that the agency has been able to give. In reality, we need to believe these This focus on CFMA should be the anchor, should be the pillar, so as to have skilled local manpower, so as to help in the value chain, in the whole value chain process. I'll now move on to the global vision of oil and gas business. And Mr. Ricard van Dijk, what is your... Thank you, Miro. Good afternoon, everyone, to all those present and those who are accompanying us individually. I'll, in a very summarized manner, in 3 slides, I'll try to talk about the skills development strategy for the exploration, production, and research of Sonangol. That is the operating unit of Sonangol level. We talk about the context, the key challenges, and then the methodology we have adopted for these skills skills development in upstream. We all know that oil and gas sector, there are more requirements in terms of training in order to deal with the challenges that each and every one of us as operator face in the industry, especially in the geoscience and reservoir. And I'm going to use this example because this is what we consider to be critical skills in the upstream. Our challenges are even greater, and some of them were referred to by Engineer Berlamino. We are exploiting in ultra deep waters, as it was mentioned. We have challenges such as mature field, marginal discoveries. In terms of Sonangol, in terms of upstream, the exploration and production unit has a huge challenge. That is, by 2027, it would have been responsible for 10% of the national production. This challenge by itself brings about huge specific training needs in terms of critical skills. Since for this challenge there's a strategy, and this strategy goes through the exploration, mature fields, the marginal discoveries. So there's a need for us to focus more on development. And for that to happen, we have launched a training program in collaboration with some institutions such as ESPEC, ISTech, and it aims at identifying the current skills of our geoscientists, and based on this, a training program will be put in place so as to achieve this objective. Whenever we design any training plan, we have to consider the challenges we face at the organizational level, the targets, the goals, and we must make sure that this plan is directed for the achievement of such goals. For that to happen, we need to look at the challenges, and then we look at the challenges that the team, or the exploration production team, will have in the years to come in Angola. And on the upper side of the program, we have mature fields, and the challenge of stopping the decline and increasing the production. So as these blocks reach the end of the license, we need to look at the inspection of such license. We need to put in place a revitalization plan, new concession, it was already mentioned here. We need to compete for the new concessions, just like with any operator in the industry. The gas we need to exploit and evaluate options. The exploitation, and here we need to revitalize the recently acquired assets we were given some assets in phase of exploration, and we need to work on these assets. We need to value these assets. And then we have an international component that the team in Angola needs to provide support to all Sonangol's operations outside Angola. So basically, these were the challenges, and this is where we have the training needs. And then we have divided it by critical functions. We only have georeferencing and reservoir, and we try to find the specific challenges. And this is done for the geoscience. This is also done for all areas contributing to our project. After defining the challenges, the training plan needs to have, then we look at the design of such training plan and what methodology can be used for such plan. The first stage is what we define the role of responsibilities, competence models, all that have to do with the functions for these challenges. Phase 2, an assessment is conducted, and this assessment aims at identifying the gaps, and the gaps will then allow us to identify the training program. And this training program obviously must be able to overcome such gaps so as to reduce any possible challenges in the future. That's why we have designed this training program, so as to look at this level of proficiency. Phase 3 is the implementation phase. That's where we are right now, and it's a combination of various tools. Obviously, today with the pandemic, we needed to adjust our training, and we are now focusing more on online and virtual training rather than having face-to-face. Well, but here we're trying to strike a balance between the two components. We then have the part which is extremely important in job training. And this was discussed by Mr. Robert, and the more specific skills are developed. And one last phase, which is the mentoring. It's a process in interactive. This is a dynamic and interactive process. We need to assess the skills. We need to map out the skills, and then plan the development such competence, and then have the development plan for such competence. So this is basically, we wanted to bring to you, share with you whenever we want to implement a training plan. Thank you. This is summarized manner he was able to express, and we thank you for that. Without further ado, I know I'll give the floor to Mr. Diallo-Bach, which is, you are welcome to Angola. You have recently arrived in Angola, and since you are in this forum, you probably be able to understand the local competence that can be used, because it's basically a must, but we could also identify and aggregate the local content or local value. The BP training needs, could you please elaborate on that? First of all, thank you for the invitation. Thank you to His Excellency the Minister, to Mr. Gaspar, to the president of CFMA, and to all present. Let us change a bit. Let us focus on the topic, to upskilling to transform, and talk about need of training needs of BP that will be limiting the subject. And let me just starting with some comments, starting with the minister. The need to create and generate employment and income for the Angolan society. In our industry, this will only happen if you are capable of sanctioning some project by increasing the borders. And I'd like to thank, we on behalf of the industry, we'd like to thank the recent efforts of the minister, NPG, and Sonango. And here it was mentioned the opportunities, future opportunities that may increase this area and attract new partners, new operators, new investors within a different spectrum. You have the local, the medium, without forgetting the key participation of Sonango, because each of these sectors will need a skilled labor, a different skilled labor. Now, going back to the key aspect, which is training. Training of our manpower must be divided into 3 categories, which allows the transition from the transition from the old manpower to the new one. That is, the old one has some experience, has some history, and needs a constant qualification, a constant recertification, and an updating, because the industry continues to evolve. We are getting more and more in a digital era, an era of collaboration where the traditional culture of our industry is no longer applicable. Today we work in a global manner, in a collaborative manner, where agility and flexibility of the working team is always required. We have many Angolans in the industry who are based in Angola and do not work for Angola. They work for Gulf of Mexico, Iraq, and other countries. And this type of agility, this type of flexibility, this type of digitalization is necessary for our industry. You still have a group with an absurd experience that must be trained and recycled so that they can be adapted. The second part is the one that was mentioned, that would be to replace the manpower that will take the decisions and that needs to be replaced by a more traditional form. But this new group needs to come with a set of tools, requires tools for the 4.0 revolution. If you are to train our young people in the old fashion, then it will be creating a barrier to the labor market. The world has changed. The way we see things, the way we provide training, the way we provide skills in the modern manpower is quite different from the old one. Today we are looking for an individual who's capable, who's technically capable, but must be able to learn by himself or herself by using the tools that were demonstrated here and the collaborative capacity in a global manner, not just in its field of expertise, in its vertical side, but more spherical side. The industry, it's not just about technical aspects nowadays, it's about the social aspects and how to collaborate with others. So this is the type, the individual we need today. And now, to finalize, the the future education, the whole world, the globalization, digitalization will only increase the change average. We human beings are beings of habit. We don't like changes, so we are usually attached to what we used to do. But the transformation rate of the modern world, and a country with a young population that is joining the labor market in Angola, is an ideal platform for this disruptive transformation direct to a digital era. In other words, that will be the leapfrog technology. So we have a new population that is already exposed to the digitalization, then we should be able to think what we want for this population, so that for the next 30, 40, 50 years, and educate in such a way that it may become competitive in the globalized world, where the geography, it will no longer be an obstacle and will become an opportunity. So that is one of the greatest challenge, not only in Angola, but also a great opportunity. Whenever you have a demographic distribution, such as in Angola, and the oil industry has the resources, is an industry that seeks for innovation and may have us very where we are going to have this transition, where we are going to have all the collaborators for the energetic matrix, so as to meet a growing per capita demand. Well, thank you. I believe that this explanation is very clear. The energetic has resources, and we usually talk about the need to have human resources, but we need to make sure that we have the right human resources. That's why we need this training. You were saying that we need to take in consideration the transition, the energetic transition, but from the human resources perspective, we'll look at the new challenges of the digitalization, so that we are capable of doing it with the younger generation. But we should also look at those that at some extent, some point in time, had served the industry. Even though they might be out of their field of expertise, they can still be used as a useful resources in terms of transmitting a set of knowledge. These will certainly be discussed in other forums, but this is an additional note what was shared by you. So within this transition, I will now transition closer to Mr. Makel Bakidi, Director General of NI. And from what was discussed here, daughter, we have the challenge to train together, the project Together We Can. Could you elaborate a little bit on this, on the blue economy? Good afternoon. I'd like to thank, first of all, His Excellency, the Minister Azevedo, and the CEO of Sonangol, the Director General of Maritime Training Center, and all of its team. Now, let us talk about the energetic transition. we believe that the future of the oil and gas sector in Angola will be marvelous. And we as NI, we have a huge commitment on the refinery in Angola. And that's why we are training our employees. But we should also be able to look at the energetic transition and the opportunities to transfer skills in the from the oil and gas sector to the renewable sectors. So there are many skills which are easy to be transferred to the renewable sector, such as civil engineering, construction, maintenance, electric engineering, automation, and also our experience in the design of offshore structured maritime operations for the development of the offshore mid-farm. We also have a precious thing in the oil and gas sector, which is our capacity to implement projects. The oil and gas sector is an intensive, capital-intensive sector. So we need to have this capacity to quickly implement projects. As NI, we have a university which is called NI Corporate University, which does the transfer, which does the skills transfer from the oil and gas sector to the renewable sectors. And this year we established an agreement with a university in Scotland to think in a structuring manner on how to go through this transition from employees from the oil and gas to the renewable energies. So that is the first step. Here we have projects about to start in the renewable sector, and we have the great opportunity to transfer competence, to transfer employees to join the renewable sector here in Angola.
We have another sector that's extremely important for the country. We can use all the competence that we have in downstream and refining area so that we can develop the biofuel sector. So we can adapt the traditional competencies of processing, of chemical engineering, in order to project, in order to do the execution of the new plants of refinery and bioethanol. They are compatible competencies. Here we're speaking how a chemical process engineer can do this adaptation and you can use that in the new plants. And we also have the experience of our oil and gas competence in general terms. We have been working in huge projects in areas also for operation and maintenance in order for us to manage these projects the best fair way possible. And we also have another important area, that is this new sector of biofuel, as the opportunity of developing new agricultural competencies for the production of biofeed stocks that will be used to be treated in the new plants. for the production of biofuel. So it is really an huge opportunity for Angola, so that we develop, so that we boost agriculture, so that we can really develop all the biofuel sector. I believe that oil and gas is going to be the future of the country for many years to come, but we also have the opportunity to transfer competencies to the new sector and create value. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Matteo Bacchini, NI General Director. That's an important topic. This makes us think on what are the special responsibility in terms of companies, but individually we can come to an agreement that has to do with the moral responsibility of living a safe environment for the future. So I believe that this procediment of INAI is the correct one. So I'll give the floor to Mr. Michael Johnson, who is the production manager of ESSO, Exploration Angola. So we will listen attentively to what they can transmit on the good practice of safety at offshore. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Honorable Mr. Aldezedo and Engineer Martins and all the other distinguished guests for the opportunity to speak today about offshore safety in our industry. Over the years in our industry, to improve workplace safety, our industry has initially focused on upgrading the design of our facilities and our equipment to reduce the chance of injuries. Unfortunately, it still required our people to execute tasks and operate this equipment. Well, the next evolution was a focus on upgrading our systems and our processes, provide a framework for how work was executed. In ExxonMobil, we implemented the Operations Integrity Management System, or OIM. And this made a significant improvement in workplace safety. However, after a while, our performance improvement plateaued, and we were still getting people injured in our workplace, unfortunately. More recently, we started exploring worker behaviors and how their actions impacted safety performance. The insights gained through this has helped us make another step change in our safety performance. However, our journey is not over. Our current focus is how we truly integrate the design of our facility, our systems, and our people to enable a work environment where exposures are minimized and uncertainties of human behaviors are anticipated and mitigated. In order to make this work, we must understand and embrace human performance principles and how those principles impact choices and actions in the workplace. The first principle that we must embrace is that people make mistakes. We're all human. We're not perfect. But we've got to identify those where we cannot afford to make mistakes and make sure we have safeguards in place to avoid them. The second principle is that mistakes often result from well-meaning behaviors, so that we must have clear expectations when circumstances change and a procedure deviation is required. The third principle is that the underlying conditions often contribute to those error-prone situations. So we must understand them and mitigate those conditions. The fourth principle is we must clearly understand the how and the why mistakes occur. We have to have rigorous investigations and make sure that we learn from every incident that occurs. The fifth principle is we can predict and we can prevent or manage most of those error-prone situations. But that requires really hard work. We have to have rigorous safety-critical task analysis so we understand where those exposures are and what the mitigations and safeguards need to be. The next principle is that leadership's response to mistakes directly impacts the culture of learning and accountability. We have to be able to create a learning environment where people are comfortable bringing forward ideas, but at the same time, we have to create a culture of accountability where intentional shortcuts are dealt with appropriately. So I firmly believe with the proper training and embracing the integration of these human performance principles and integrating them tightly with engineered facilities, strong processes, and strong safeguards will enable us to take the next step in ensuring that nobody gets hurt in our operations. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Nobody gets hurt. Fez-me viajar por uma escola que eu passei durante 7 anos. Por isso, essa é uma expressão que na altura existiu e até agora mantém-se válida para o setor petrolífero. Por isso, agradecer a todos os panelistas que aqui estiveram pelas vossas brilhantes explanações. Fica, de facto, o sentido de que o Cfma é uma marca que veio para ficar.
CFNA is a label and will contribute for the growth of this industry in Angola. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.
Obrigada, Valdemiro Souza.
Thank you, Valdemiro Souza. We are reaching the final edition of the presentation of Maritime Center of Angola, CFMA, that is upskilling to transform. To conclude our call again, the Executive Director of Sonangol, Olga Sabar, to do the closing or to make the closing remarks. Thank you, Selma. Ladies and gentlemen, at this event, distinguished members following this event online, thank you for finding space in your agenda to participate in this event. Since the beginning of the event, starting with the speech done by the minister and the CEO of Sonangol, the intervention of all our distinguished invited guests from beginning to the end, we believe that the message was transmitted, and we know what are the challenges and the expectation for the capacity building of the sector. CFMA will continue with the process that aims at updating their dynamic en route for the digitalization and the development of tools that allows to secure online training, and for that we launch and challenge, and we're asking for everyone collaboration of all the members of the operating companies and those who are following us online to participate and collaborate actively in the development of human capital of the oil and gas sector, of the maritime sector, and the complementary areas. CFMA is engaged in continuing with the process that aims at organizing such forum and specific workshop in articulation with local strategic partners and international partners, and also the transformation of the oil industry in Angola depends specifically from the transformation, from the capacity building of the human capital. So it's with these words that on behalf of the board of Sonangol EP, we declare closed this session. I'd like to thank every participant for their efforts, and the challenge is there. Let's upskill to transform. Thank you.
E depois deste brilhante
And after this end of this event, I'd like to thank everyone who is present here, physically and virtually. Thank you very much for your attention. And this information is available to be visualized online via YouTube, whoever would like to watch it. And we also have more information at the social network and website of CFMA. So I'll end as I started with this Nelson Mandela statement: education is the most powerful weapon to change the world, because we cannot change the world directly, but we can train people. And people, yes, they change the world. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a good day.